is time for the executive panel. And these are people that are actually in the trenches doing the work that you're doing. And they can give you answers to the questions that you're asking in a very pragmatic and applicable way. So I will ask you again to make sure that you scan that QR code on the back of the Insight workbook so that you can ask questions of the executive panel. And once we've had a period of time through with the executive panel, we will then take a look at what questions are coming from you, the audience. Please remember that you can also click on the thumbs up. I like that question. And the more people that click on it, the higher it'll go. And that is likely to be a question that will be asked of the executive panel. Now, we also had, as more and more people are filling into the room, we heard you. You're freezing. Who's freezing? Yeah, gotcha. So we have asked the center to reduce the freezing factor and to bring up the warmth factor. So keep an eye out for that, but promise me you'll stay awake. Promise me you'll stay awake. And with that, I'm going to ask the team to put up on the screen for you who is on this executive panel. So joining us here now is Janice Buckingham, who's a partner for energy in Osler. Tara Lockyer, who's the Chief People, Culture, Brand, and Communications Officer at AGB. Wow, she's got some friends in the audience. And Mochoruk said it really quickly, and she is the Vice President, Talent Management at Parkland. So welcome them, please. Come on down. Janice, thank you so much. Tara and Monica, thank you. Ooh, Monica's getting some calls out. I love this. Yeah, you got to feel the love in the room. And that's a really good thing. That's a really good thing. And seeing you're feeling so loved now, Monica, maybe you could open us up, if you wouldn't mind, with the very first question. Just simply tell us a little bit about yourself and the journey that's led you to your current role here at Parkland.
With pleasure. So thank you, everyone, for the chance to be here. I'm a born and raised Calgarian.
Congratulations.
And,
yeah, hello.
A few of us in the room, maybe. Yeah, I thought about this question, and I would sum it up really as 4 things: family, community, purpose, and passion. You know, I have 2 brothers, born in Calgary. We'd summer in the wilds of BC, no TV. Literally the only music we would hear all summer was the As It Happens theme song. And when they changed...
Can you give us a bar or 2 of that? Yes.
Dun, dun, na, 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 na. Many of you know it. A few years, I guess maybe a decade ago, time flies, they changed the music. That's the theme song. And my brother called me in a bit of a panic. This was like so ingrained in our childhood. But my brothers and I, we spent our summers outside, and we were a mashup of Barbies and G.I. Joe, all these kinds of things. And I think it did have a big influence on me in that, you know, just the way that I grew up. Fast forward off to UBC. I followed my grandfather to UBC and met this amazing community of people. And when I was there at UBC studying HR, I came across a course called Organizational Behavior. And we did a case study on Nucor Steel. On and on it went. I just fell in love, and I really found my purpose. Purpose and community. After working in Vancouver for a bit, I did miss the sun. Hadn't seen it in 42 days, so called my mom and packed up the car and came back to Calgary. Did an MBA at the U of C in marketing and built another tremendous community of humans. And then as I was working after that at an IT consulting company, one of my mentors called and told me I was going to apply for a recruiter job at WestJet. And I said, am I? And she said, yes, you are. It's where you need to be. And so my community has always come through for me. So I was not passionate or inspired with the work I was doing. Walked in the door at WestJet, that's 2003, 2,000 employees. I mean, it was just instantly awesome. And so took a 33% pay cut, walked in the door, and 14 years later, with the company at 10,000 people, felt like that season was done. Moved into oil and gas at Plains Midstream here in Calgary and had a really, really challenging and effective time there. And then my old WestJet leader called and said, pack your bags, you're coming to Parkland. And I am an Albertan. And I said, what's Parkland's? Just in Red Deer. And he said, no, my friend. So I'm very pleased to be the VP of Talent Management at Parkland. We are a Alberta success story, 26 countries, 6,000 employees, 1.6 billion in EBITDA. The brands we represent range from Chevron in the West, Ultramar, Pioneer, and we also have the M&M brand. So you can imagine our talent challenges when we need a chef, a refinery professional in Burnaby, and I need a convenience store employee to provide service at our on the runs. So that's me. So pleased to be here and on this panel with my esteemed colleagues.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Monica. Tara, what about, oh, there's some more applause. Yes.
Go ATB. I feel the challenge to do it in four. So as you were talking, I'm like, what's been my career path? Chaos, curiosity, change, and challenge.
Yay.
So graduated from high school, no idea what I was going to be when I grew up. That's okay. Go somewhere cool, went to university, took an undergrad in business communications, didn't like writing, didn't matter, loved my school, met some cool people. Graduated and said, I'm just going to travel the world. So that was fine. Came back, had no money, had limited skills coming out of university, and I had a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend who worked in insurance. And I said, well, what do you do there? And she says, well, I do large fire loss claims. And I said, well, what does that look like? Well, when somebody's house burns to the ground, you go with the checkbook and you sort of walk them through that. And I'm like, well, that is super interesting. So sign me up. And I did that for 3 years. And from that experience was just the autonomy came with it, the decision making came with it, the empathy came with it, and I find every step in my career there's been these different skills that I've really sort of hung on to that have served me well. So I did that for many, many years. And within that environment was very developed from within. And I always thought maybe I would be a teacher, but I gosh don't like other people's children, right? So it's kind of a conflict. I think the work's fun, but I'm not a big fan of the kids. So this job came up to be an internal facilitator at this insurance company. And this is going to date me because it was to help people learn the new Microsoft Office products. So yeah, anyways, that was kind of my entranceway into HR and L&D and consulting, and I just loved this part of the business and stayed with that organization for a very long time. But then here's the change part. I can't stay anywhere for all that long, and if someone dangles something in front of me that looks really exciting or really hard, I'm in. So I had an organization reach out to me to say we're this global, multinational, lots of travel, 60,000, 29 different languages. I'm like, I am so in. And I would say from that transition, I got sort of cut my teeth on a lot of HR work. And then when I went into this new organization, lots of big org design, lots of big culture work, lots of transformational work, really started to intuit into how different styles show up, how diversity plays out. And I was with that organization for a lovely time, even had the beautiful opportunity to spend 2 years in Asia with my family, which was just phenomenal, and then came back to Canada and said, well, this is boring. I'm going to go out west because west is best, and I think I'm going to work in oil and gas because oil and gas was having a bit of a tricky time in 2019, and I like really crunchy problems. But nevertheless, ATB found me and I was like, no thanks, I don't want to do banking anymore, too bureaucratic. Met the team there, love the culture. Culture is king, and as far as I'm concerned from a journey perspective. So I've stepped into this role, been there 3 years, haven't regretted it a day.
Well done. Oh, so much to learn from you, Tara. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Janice, tell us about your career and your background.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, everyone. It's terrific to be here today. I'm not going to find 4 categories because mine has been a bit of a pivot back and forth has been a bit of a characteristic, but grew up in Winnipeg, youngest of 5 kids, and came from immigrant parents who might have had a grade 12 education between them. And so education was absolutely critical. in our family, and especially for the girls in our family. My mom made sure that we went to university and did all the things we needed to. And so that journey was, playing around. Okay, I'll try a Bachelor of Arts in political science and economics, and then I think I might go into law. So I applied to law school. Of course, got waitlisted for the 1 year that they never admitted anybody off the wait list, and decided I would try something else and do a master's in public administration, thinking, well, maybe I'll go work at the UN or maybe I'll go work in government. Halfway through that degree, I thought, no disrespect to anybody who works in government, I applaud you, but it wasn't going to be my cup of tea. So I actually connected with a number of really great lawyers who were investors in oil and gas properties in Alberta. And they had set up 5 different limited partnerships, wanted somebody to work with them on it. And so I took that on. I thought, not unlike Tara, I like change, I like diversity, I like new challenges, and did that for a little bit. And then once the investors decided, well, we think we need to consolidate these assets with an operating company in Calgary. Would you move to Calgary and be our eyes and ears on the ground and help us manage this year? So at 29, I was a vice president of a small oil and gas company. And I got here and I thought, wow, I'm surrounded by men, engineers, accountants, landmen, CEOs. And it was great. I was just soaking up as much information as I could in the industry. But I kind of realized fairly quickly, I think I need a professional designation to be able to up my game and play in this field. So there I go, apply to law school again, and a little too late to get into the Calgary schools. So got back into Winnipeg and decided to make a go of it at law school in Winnipeg for a year. And one of the first phenomenal mentors of my life was the president of the company I was with. And I really didn't want to give up my salary. I really didn't want to give up my business contacts. I really didn't want to give up the work that I was doing. So I made a proposal to him. How would it be if I commuted twice a week or twice a month, and you let me continue working while I go to law school in another province? He was on board for it, and so we did that. And in the second year, I kind of realized the only way I'm going to keep this job is if I get my butt back in Calgary. So I transferred, finished school in Calgary, and from that point, when I articled with Bennett Jones, I said to them, I really am interested in energy, but I'm only going to give you my articling year because I think that I'm going to stay in industry and not go into private practice. Well, as fate has it, other things happened, and the company I was with was taken over first month into articles, and I thought, okay, well, I'll give this challenge of law a try, and found that I was 7 months pregnant when I was called to the bar expecting twins. Wow. And Winnipeg called again, like I've had this call I don't know how many times already, but a large multinational or a telecommunications company said, we really want you back. And the guilt you feel when you think your kids should have the same opportunity as you did, being raised by family and close to friends and all the support. I thought, okay, well, I'll take the risk and I'll go back. And within a month, I thought, what have I done? So I called Osler at that point, and I managed to get them through their first public annual meeting. They hadn't done this before. And so didn't leave them stranded. I exited at the appropriate time, came back, and I think the furniture that I had put in storage in Calgary never left. The house that we sold, it was all still here. And then did that for a couple of years and decided that it was time for a change, to do a little bit more, and I went back to Bennett Jones, and I was there for 7 years and became a partner. Great firm, great colleagues, great friends. And then the woman that you will have heard from earlier this morning, Maureen Cloran, who's a very dear friend and partner of mine, and also one of the most effective advocates I've ever met, didn't leave me alone until I came back to Osler. So that was 17, 18 years ago, and I'm pleased to say I'm not making any more moves.
I'm sure Osler's thrilled to hear that as well. Congratulations. Thank you. And Monica, maybe I'll come back to you if I can to start. As we focus on the importance of empowering women leaders, what qualities or skills do you believe are essential for women leaders to develop to thrive and lead confidently in today's world of work?
Well, I think the skills that great leaders need, along the lines of, and I can hear just echoes of my great leaders in my head, but we have to know our data, have to know your numbers. I feel like I know as much about numbers and use Excel as much in HR as my colleagues I'm here with in supply and trading and accounting. I think the second thing as leaders, as a skill, is you have to learn to trust your people. And this notion of trust but verify is a very powerful piece. And Dr. Peter Jensen influenced a lot of the early thinking in my career, and he would say, you know, you earn trust when you give trust. And I find that when I'm always trying to build the confidence of my team and that I trust them. And it's a skill, I think, a muscle you need to make sure that your team knows. And then as a leader, the other skill you need is to think about what's in the way is the way. So when you have a problem with something or someone, the only solution to that problem is to address it. And the example that Dr. Jensen used to give was, if you're a figure skater and you're on your way to the Olympics and you're practicing your triple lutz, why are you practicing your triple lutz? Because your triple lutz is the weakest part of your performance. And so what's in the way is the way. And I think if leaders can trust their people, can know their numbers, and ultimately really focus on don't avoid the things that are right there in front of you. What's in the way is the way. I think those three skills can really help all of our leaders. And we're all better when all leaders are awesome. Be their awesome selves.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Can I riff off this one a bit?
You bet.
All right. And I love that you picked leadership skills for all, but sometimes I'm consulting and working with different groups of women who say, how can I be part of the old boys club, or how can I become more directive, and how can I become more assertive? And they've coined this term, the alpha female, which is a woman who acts like a man. And I said, yeah, we don't need more of those. So the reason, not that I don't love them, but the reason why we're working towards parity at all levels of the organization is because women bring a different composite skill set, and some of that is listening, some of that is empathy, some of that is intuition. So partnering with the skills that are great for all leaders, don't dilute some of those female characteristics trying to be more aggressive or assertive, because it's actually counterintuitive to the business case of why we want to have women at the top of the house anyways.
There we go. And what I'm hearing from you, Tara, again, just using gender inclusive language, is that maybe the new way to say it is, whoa, man, let me share another perspective with you. And here's the woman's perspective. So, but Janice, what were your thoughts on that same question?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we face challenges every single day, right? And I think that part of the challenge is we hold ourselves to a higher standard than others more often than not, because we feel, and we should be leading by example, because being, and I won't say privileged, because those that are in leadership have earned the right to be there, but we also I think have to expect to earn people's respect and to continue to earn that respect, that it is unfortunately a daily, maybe not a daily obligation, but an activity that, if your reputation precedes you. So if you falter in any front, then there's going to be people that will look to try and take advantage of that situation. So leadership is, it requires a whole number of skills that women, I think, are uniquely capable of excelling at. We strive for excellence. There's no ego, right? I've done transactions where, and only a very few of them in about 28 years of practice, where there's been only women in the room. And it is absolutely amazing to me that there's no ego. We find the issue, we solve the problem, and we move forward. And we do it quickly, and we do it with fun. And, sense of humor to me is absolutely critical as part of a leadership skill, because it kind of breaks down the barrier of what might be a problematic conversation. But I also think, as leaders, we have to give credit where it's due. We're in a profession where we brainstorm regularly with our colleagues, with our clients, and we have to provide solutions to problems. And we're not going to have all the answers, but we need to be able to trust the people that we work with to Monica's point that, you know, they will also help find ways for all of us to lead collectively.
And hence, these answers have helped me understand and realize why I've always been in industries dominated by women. Every industry I've been in, and it has been fun, and it's been learning, and we've solved problems. Tara, though, in today's competitive business landscape, measuring performance and success is really vital to organizational growth. How do you measure performance and success within your organization? Are there specific metrics or key performance indicators that you prioritize to evaluate performance? And how is it contributing to your overall success?
Yeah, sure. We've taken a little pivot here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll thread it through Monica's comment just on data. But I would say there's a discipline to this. First, as an organization, you have to identify what is it that we're striving for and what does good look like. Not what can we measure, what do we already know, what's easy, but where do we want to go and how do we know when we've got there? And then you can kind of back out of that. And most of the organizations that I've worked in, there's sort of 4 large categories of performance that you're always looking at, which is 1, my client. So what will success look like as it relates to the clients that I work with? 2, my team members. What are the success dimensions for them? Some of us have a shareholder or stockholders. So what are the financial dimensions that I'm accountable for? And then the community. So at ATB, we have a very strong greater good orientation. So part of our measurement of performance is how we show up in the community. So again, what does success look like? What are the categories that you're going to measure? And you don't have to do all 4. It could be a myriad depending on your organization. And then breaking them down. What are the biggies? Usually I'd say have 1 for each, and then underneath those metrics is a subset of maybe 5 to 10 that everybody can align up to in the organization. So if you have a goal and a strategy and a performance metric that every team member can't see themselves in, you're not done yet. So there's got to be that up, down, bottom up, top down, just total hardwired into what the organization's striving for. And then I guess the last comment is just discipline. When the data starts to lag, the excuses come out, we defend why we're not there. If they're the right metrics, you're not hitting them, get a game plan. If they're the wrong metrics, do the hard work to make them the right one.
There we go. Beautiful. And sort of setting up for that, if you will, then, Monica, drawing on your own experience, what strategies would you recommend for the women looking to attain more prominent roles within their organizations, climbing that ladder?
I think, so across my career, I've been haunted and inspired in varying degrees by this fable, and some of you may have heard it, but it's this notion of fix the bridge. So 2 individuals walk down beside a stream, Lady A and Lady B. An individual comes down in the stream in distress. Lady A jumps in, pulls the person out. Another person comes in distress. Lady A jumps in again. There's a 3rd person. Eventually, Lady B turns and runs back up the trail. Lady A is in and out of the water a dozen more times as more people come, and then suddenly there's no one. No one else is coming down in distress in the stream. Lady A, she's lying on the side of the river. She's exhausted. Her hair's askew. Her clothing is soaked. Her makeup is no good. And Lady B comes down, refreshed coffee's in her hand. Hair looks fabulous, looking good. Shows up, and Lady A is, quite frankly, pissed. Where have you been? I have been pulling these people out of the water. I have been saving them. Where were you? And Lady B says, well, I went back up and fixed the bridge. And this notion I worry about of the caregiver nature, where it's too much about pulling people out of the water when they're in distress, and not enough, why are they in distress? What could possibly be happening? What's upstream? And I think for those of us, I think, and this is observation only, I don't have any research like our good speakers this morning, but really being thoughtful around solving problems and being the kind of person and leader that really thinks critically, go upstream and stop pulling bodies from the water. Invest your time in your career in fixing bridges, and I think that is a key strategy to getting where you can go in your career.
Beautiful. So I'm going to jump off book for just a moment because we do have Slido and the audience is engaging with you already in great ways. And I just want to acknowledge Kelly P. Thank you for creating a profile, whoever you may be. But what activities, and this is for all of you, so whoever wants to jump in first, just let me know. But what activities have you engaged in at your organization to increase women in leadership? Follow up, how many women, including you, are on the executive team? Maybe answer the follow-up question first. How many women are engaged in the executive team, and then how do you engage in your organization to increase women in leadership? Anyone?
I'll jump
Janice,
in.
thank
Sure.
you.
So we had a mandate for increasing gender parity and obviously equality, because when you look in law firms, it's been a challenge. A lot of women tend to leave even before partnership, and it was important to us to set a threshold. We call it the 30% club, and basically that means we want at least 30% women in leadership roles, executive positions, in partnership, and on compensation committees, because that committee sets the compensation for partners at the firm. And I'm happy to report we've exceeded those. And in 2022, we had about, I think 50% of women in senior executive roles. We call them chief roles within the firm. We've got 31% women partners across the firm nationally, and we're in offices across the country. And within the last 4 years, I think we've admitted, women that have been admitted to partnership represent about 43% of the women or of the partners coming in. So we achieved those goals by making it a strategic priority. That requires investment of funds and internal resources. And we established a coaching program with, we call it the Advancement of Women in Law. And we, as partners that were involved in it, got coaching to help coach the women associates who are interested in becoming partners. And it was amazing how many of my male colleagues were prepared to learn and understand, because we're good at giving advice, we're not so good at being coaches. And so we had to change our approach to things, and it, I think, has been a resounding success. And anyway, I won't take it.
No, can we give some recognition to Osler for that? Hello, yeah. I just have to say, I would be afraid to know what our statistic would be if you weren't that far in advance pulling us along and around the curve,
Well,
if
and
you weren't included in the calculation.
It doesn't start just, I mean, it starts with conversation, but we've been doing this, for 50 years. And especially over the last 20 years, we've had women in leadership roles within, the firm nationally at the national managing partner. Maureen, who you met this morning, is our co-chair, national co-chair. She was a former office managing partner. We have women managing offices throughout the firm as well. And these are partners with active practices, not just administrative positions as well. So it's a culture, right? We've created a culture of respect where we value the contributions that our female colleagues make. And I think as a result, it's made for a much better firm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone else want to?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So with pride, ATB's board of directors and our senior leadership team are at parity.
Oh,
So super proud.
yeah.
But there's a big but, because the leadership levels underneath that are not. And to me, there's two really significant stumbling blocks. One is women, whether we like it or not, are full creatures that have responsibility beyond the boardroom or beyond their office. And there's still not equity in the person. And sometimes they are up against individuals that don't have to bear the same load as that they do, as that child care or elder care. And those are real things that we need to solve with policies and programs to support people. And then the second thing is a bit of an interesting genetic dynamic that I've heard time and time again. Men will put themselves forward with confidence for roles that they are 70% ready for, and women will not put themselves forward for roles until they are 110% ready for. So we need to support and sponsor women in our organizations to get them to get their confidence, to understand, hey, no leader wants to hire somebody that can do the full job. You're not going to bring energy to the role. There's no learning curve. You're going to lose that excitement. 70's good. You don't have to be able to check everything off on the job posting to put your hand up. So part of what I think it is, sponsorship's huge in an organization. Sponsor those great and upcoming women, give them the confidence, talk their game out there in your circles, and give them the confidence to put their names up. Because once they get to the interview stage, it actually levels out pretty good.
Awesome, awesome. Monica,
So we are in this exact moment, we have 20% of our executive team female, about 30% of our vice president organization across the enterprise, 26 countries, are also female. Our director level is a bit lower at 20%, and then our frontline leaders actually sit at about 41. So our pipeline is, I feel, getting healthier. We need to do a lot more work, and we'll be seeing some transition around that top of the house here in a little bit. But I think that, a colleague of mine will say this, it's very common that we'll give the males a development opportunity and we'll give the females a development plan. And I think the systemic sort of nature of the work we do in P&C or HR to actually sort of break down those unconscious or conscious systems that are not treating people the same way are very powerful. And I think really the investment in, for us, mentorship's a very, very big priority. So we launched a pilot mentorship program last year. More this year, we will have all of our successors for leading other jobs will have been invited to have a mentor. Not all take it on, different stages of life, moment, and it's not the right moment for everyone to have a mentor, but we'll have invited them all by the end of this year. And this is the medium game for us. Like there's, and giving ourselves permission to be better and better and better, and keep that work going. And when I think about the future, I have 2 teenage daughters. I'm not worried.
oh,
They've got this.
yes.
They do. They do. They think different. Their peers think different. The boys in their class think different. It's every generation. I think differently than my father did in the workplace. Even between myself as a Gen X and my teammates, say the millennials, for example, we think differently. We have different experiences. We've gotten here different ways. And if we're going to be inclusive on all things, I think that's, giving ourselves permission to be better, fix the systems. A lot of good things are going to happen.
All right, so we've got some good leader numbers going in there. And Parkland, that Red Deer little engine that has become worldwide, looking then to get more and more women into those senior leadership roles. But you've got a good feeder, and now maybe some men just need to step aside. All right, good stuff. Janice, coming to you here now then. So Ritu discussed the link between inclusion and innovation. How do you foster a culture of innovation within your own organizations by embracing and celebrating diversity, if you will? Are there specific structures or processes in place to encourage diverse perspectives and drive innovation?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to restate it, it has to be a strategic priority within the organization, and it is at our firm. And when it becomes a strategic priority, you get the funding, you get the internal support, and you get a groundswell of movement in the right direction, and everybody comes on board. And so we've tackled diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives from both a client and an internal firm perspective. For clients, we started by analyzing the representation statistics, so of women, members of visible minorities, Indigenous peoples, and persons with disabilities in leadership roles within Canadian public companies. And we published a report on disclosure practices of diversity for clients. And we've also generated what we call a sort of general counsel dashboard. If we don't measure what we're doing, then it's really hard to find out, have we exceeded the baseline? Are we moving in the right direction? And so we actually have a way of identifying from a gender perspective, how many women are we involving on the files? And that helps our clients understand from their disclosure practices whether they're employing firms that are consistent with their objectives for gender diversity. We've developed a board diversity policy template that clients have used also for diversity initiatives, and developed that in conjunction with the Institute of Corporate Directors. So it helps them develop diversity policies by having written policies regarding representation, and allows them to modify that for other persons that require representation. And then we've partnered with the Women General Council of Canada to provide a curriculum for GCs so that they have all the tools that they need on topics, so that when they're in the C-suite opportunities, they can advance their business objectives. And we host numerous webinars and professional development seminars throughout the year. And I think that those items have been very, very successful. From an internal perspective, diversity is important. We've hired a manager, a senior manager, and given her a mandate following a biennial survey that we do geographically about how people are feeling about diversity within the firm. And she's empowered to actually do things to address some of those concerns if there are any. And we've got a very strong, because we've succeeded in actually winning an award by Accenture, which was the only Canadian law firm to do so, which is a client that measured, I think, about 70 different law firms on what are they doing for diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. So I think we're starting to get it right. We're moving certainly in the right direction, but these actions take time, and we've been doing it for 10 to 15 years. Continuous learning on unconscious bias training. We give that to everyone in the firm. We drill it down into student recruitment committee representatives, so that we can show, we're looking for the right ways to bring the right people into the firm so that they feel included, they have opportunities to succeed. And, we set targets and obviously try and achieve them. And so I think it's been a whirlwind, because in the last couple of years we've also developed regional diversity committees where we take on all sorts of activities. There's Indigenous cultural competency training for Calgary lawyers. We've also sponsored numerous law schools, conducted Black Lives Matter, Black History Month Matter sessions. One of the interesting things we've done internally is even sponsored artistic students at the Alberta University of the Arts. And they've presented artwork to the firm that we then auction off to members of the firm. So we hold a nationwide auction to raise additional money that will go to charities of their choice. And so we're branching outside of the legal community as well, because we think that those are important communities that we should be in. And we're having a ton of fun doing it as well. And we're leading with, on these diversity committees, with, the millennials, the Gen X's, the students, the young people coming in, because they've got great ideas, and we give them the support of the partners to move forward. So it's been a lot of fun.
No kidding, and the beauty is that it's lived. It's not a checkbox, and we put a pride flag up for June. And we celebrated one day of International Women's, Let's get to the audience. They've got some great questions for you. A ton of people want to know, many of us have been with the same company our entire career. Is loyalty outdated? Would you have the same success in your career if you had not pivoted? Tara's biting her lips on that one. She's not even, do you want to go there?
It's a personal value, and I feel like I don't want to set anyone astray with my personal values. Like the career of 40, 50 years has gone by the way of the dodo bird. I used to, as an HR professional, say, 6-7% turnover. I'm going to get a little anxious. I don't even care about turnover anymore. Honestly, if somebody comes into my organization, works for 2-3 years, completely motivated, engaged, is killing it from an impact perspective, and is a nice human being, I don't care. Go off, be great. See you in 10 years, come back. So I guess that's what I see careers doing. So I don't know that loyalty disadvantages you, but I haven't seen the advantage that it might have brought. The proof is in the pudding from a compensation structure. If compensation is important to you, it's easier to leave to ask for larger sums of money than to stay. And that's just my experience, and that's what I see.
Thank you, Monica.
Yeah, and just thinking about that, I feel like in my own career there have been seasons. I use this language a lot. Like my season was done. The passion and my purpose for being there had reached a point where that was that. And it was time for something new. And so I would agree, it's really a personal perspective, but if you get up every day and are passionate about what you're doing, don't go. And if you get up in the morning and you're not as passionate as you were a month ago, start looking. I think you'll know. Follow your passion and you'll have great success.
There we go.
And I love that because I think of, sometimes an organization needs a builder leader, or they need a sustainer or operationalizer, or just this strong visionary. Well, you can't be all those things. So figure out what you're good at. And that may require you to move different organizations at different times, depending on the maturity of where the organization is and what they need. Nothing worse than being a stand-up gal in a sustainment organization.
Wow. So there we go. Now listen, I look out at this audience and I see hope. I see opportunity. And I see the opportunity to really close some of the gaps we're talking about, and you're examples of it here. But with our few seconds left, in a word, what are you excited about as we look forward at leadership and women? Who wants to start?
You even gave us this, you even prepped us for this. So much, so much, so much. There isn't one word.
Okay.
There's so much to be excited about. This is a great time to be a leader. It's a great time to be a Canadian and Albertan, and we should be really excited about what's ahead.
Thank you. Tara?
Because you gave us no time, I'm going to say agility, but just we're in this really cool province on the cusp of amazing growth and lots of new folks coming into our province. So again, the curiosity, the change, the complexity, super excited.
And I'm super excited from a gender perspective about the confidence that I see in women coming up within organizations. The opportunities are endless, and I'm excited by the courage that I'm seeing from people generally in taking advantage of opportunities. And I think Tara and Monica are absolutely right. There are tremendous opportunities in this province, and there is a very mobile work environment. And so I don't worry about loyalty either. I look for opportunities, and people will come and go and may even come back again, and that's a good thing.
So here are some leaders for you to follow, pay attention to, and keep an eye on as the future happens. There is your executive panel. Thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.